The massive chamber floated in the darkness of space, orbiting a planet that belonged to no one. Inside, representatives from 300 different species gathered around a circular platform. Some breathed oxygen, others methane. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few were made of pure energy. But today they all shared the same concern. Ambassador Daewon stood in the center of the platform. He was human, which meant he looked plain compared to the others. No wings, no extra arms, no glowing eyes. Just a man in a simple suit, holding a small device in his hand. Behind him stood Ambassador Mirai, a woman with sharp eyes and a military uniform. The High Chancellor spoke first. Her name was Valuna, and she looked like a giant insect with golden wings. She had lived for 3,000 years and seen empires rise and fall. Her voice echoed through the chamber. We are here to discuss adding humanity to the Apex Predator Protocol list. This has only been done 7 times in our history. Each time it was to prevent a war that could destroy us all. Murmurs filled the chamber. Many aliens looked at Daewon with confusion. Humans seemed so weak. They had no natural weapons, no armor on their skin, no venom in their teeth. They needed special suits just to breathe in most environments, Valuna continued. In 80 years, humans have colonized 47 worlds. Their ships travel faster than any species at their development level should be able to achieve. Their military response time breaks every standard we know, but most concerning is their history. A hologram appeared above the platform. It showed Earth, the human homeworld. Then it showed images from human history. Wars, thousands of them. Cities burning. Weapons that could destroy entire continents. The images went back 10,000 years, an endless cycle of conflict and survival. They have never stopped fighting, Valuna said. Not for a single generation. They fight each other. They fight their environment. They fight diseases. They fight nature itself. And they always win. An alien in the back laughed. It was Overlord Krethix, leader of the Vorthian Empire. He looked like a massive lizard standing on 2 legs, covered in red scales and battle scars. His empire controlled 300 star systems and had the largest military in the galaxy. This is ridiculous, Krethix said, his voice booming. We are afraid of these soft creatures? Look at them. They have no claws, no fangs, no natural defenses. They die if the temperature is too hot or too cold. They need to eat multiple times every day just to survive. They are weak! Other aliens nodded in agreement. The Vorthians had conquered countless species. They were warriors bred for battle. How could humans be a threat? Daewon remained calm. He had expected this reaction. He pressed a button on his device and new images appeared. These showed human soldiers in combat. They moved through environments that would kill most species. Desert heat that could boil blood. Arctic cold that could freeze flesh in seconds. Thin mountain air where others could not breathe. Humans fought in all of it. We are adaptable, Daewon said quietly. Our world tried to kill us for millions of years. Ice ages, plagues, predators, droughts, floods. Each time we survived. Each time we became stronger. We learned to plan, to cooperate, to persist. We learned that giving up means death. Pretty words, Krethix sneered. But words do not win wars. The Vorthian Empire has crushed species far stronger than yours. You have been in space for less than a century. We have been conquering for 10,000 years. Ambassador Mirai stepped forward. Her voice was cold and steady. Overlord Krethix, we are not asking for the Apex designation to protect us. We are asking for it to protect you. Silence fell over the chamber. Even Krethix seemed surprised by her words. Mirai continued. Humans do not want war. We came to the stars to explore, to learn, to make friends. We have signed every peace treaty offered to us. We have helped species in need. We have shared our technology and our food. We want peace more than anything. She paused and her eyes swept across the chamber. But we are very, very good at war. It is what we know best. It is written into every part of who we are. And if someone attacks us, if someone hurts our people, we do not stop until the threat is eliminated. Not wounded. Not defeated. Eliminated. More murmurs spread through the crowd. Some aliens shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned forward with interest. Valuna raised one of her many arms. The Council has reviewed all the evidence. Humanity meets every criterion for the Apex Predator Protocol. They are dangerous when provoked. They do not accept surrender easily. They have weapons that could threaten multiple star systems. Most importantly, they have the psychology of a predator species combined with intelligence and technology. I call for a vote, she announced. All in favor of granting humanity Apex Predator status, raise your appendages. Slowly, arms and tentacles and wings rose throughout the chamber. Hundreds of species voted yes. The Apex Predator Protocol would protect humans, but it also warned everyone else. Attack humans and the entire Galactic Council would retaliate against you. When the count was finished, only one empire had abstained. The Vorthians, Krethix, stood and glared at Daewon. The Vorthian Empire does not recognize this vote. We do not fear humans. We do not accept their authority, and we will prove that the Council has made a mistake. He turned and left the chamber, followed by his military advisors. The other species watched him go with concern. Breaking Council decisions was rare and dangerous. After the session ended, Valuna approached Daewon and Mirai. "He will attack you," she said quietly. "Krethix cannot allow this to stand. It makes him look weak to his people." Daewon nodded. "We know. We have been preparing." "Can you truly defeat the Vorthian Empire?" Valuna asked. "They are the strongest military power in the galaxy," Mirai answered. "We have a saying on Earth. Do not mistake kindness for weakness. Humans have been kind because we chose to be. But choice can change." Valuna's antennae twitched with worry. "I hope it does not come to that. War between your species would be devastating. For them," Mirai said softly, "it would be devastating for them." As they left the council chambers, Daewon looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, Krethix was planning an attack. The Vorthians would choose a soft target. Somewhere to prove humanity was weak. A colony world, perhaps. Somewhere with families and farms and children. Daewon hoped he was wrong. He hoped Krethix would see reason. But he had studied the Overlord's history. Pride was everything to the Vorthians. They would attack to save face. He sent a message to Earth marked urgent. "Increase readiness level to yellow. Prepare defensive protocols for all colony worlds. Alert all ships. The Vorthians will strike soon." On Earth, military commanders received the message and began moving pieces into place. Ships that had been docked for repairs suddenly had full crews. Weapons that had been in storage were loaded and prepared. Soldiers said goodbye to their families and reported for duty. No one wanted war. But humans had learned long ago that wanting peace was not enough. You had to be ready for war or someone would take everything from you. The warning had been given. The Council had done its duty. Now it was up to the Vorthians to decide what happened next. In his ship, traveling back to his empire, Krethix made his decision. He called his top general and gave a simple order. "Find the weakest human colony. We attack in 3 days. Show the galaxy that humans are nothing to fear." The general bowed. "As you command, Overlord." "Which colony should we target?" Krethix looked at a star map and pointed to a small green planet. "There. New Jeju. 2 million civilians. Minimal military presence. We will crush them in hours." He smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Let the humans cry and beg for mercy. Then everyone will see the truth. The Council's Apex Predator Protocol is meaningless." What Krethix did not know was that by choosing New Jeju, he had made the worst decision of his life. He had no idea what humans became when their families were threatened. He had ignored every warning, dismissed every piece of evidence. It was, as the galaxy would later say, his final mistake. The morning sun rose over New Jeju like it did every day. The fields stretched for miles, filled with crops that could feed millions. Children ran to school while their parents worked in the farms and factories. The sky was clear and blue. The air smelled like fresh grass and flowers. It was a perfect day. Dr. Suman stood on a hill overlooking the main settlement. She was a scientist who studied alien plants and how to grow Earth crops on new worlds. New Jeju was her proudest achievement. In just 10 years, they had turned an empty planet into a home for 2 million people. "Beautiful, is it not?" said a voice behind her. She turned to see Captain Hyunwoo, commander of the Colonial Defense Force. He was a tall man with kind eyes, but everyone knew he had fought in Earth's last war. He rarely talked about it. "Every day I wake up and cannot believe we live here," Suman said with a smile. "No pollution, no overcrowding, no conflict. Just peace." Hyunwoo nodded, but his expression was troubled. "I received a message from Earth Command this morning. They have increased the alert level. The Vorthian Empire might attack one of our colonies." Suman's smile faded.
"Here? But we are just farmers and scientists."
"We have nothing worth fighting over." "That is exactly why they might choose us," Hyunwoo said. "To prove we are weak. To make a point." Before Suman could respond, alarms began blaring across the settlement. Hyunwoo's communicator, buzzed urgently. A young woman's voice came through, high with panic. "Captain, this is Nari at the communication center. 50 ships just appeared in orbit. They are Vorthian warships." Hyunwoo ran toward the Defense Command Center with Sumin following. People in the streets looked up at the sky with confusion and fear. Parents grabbed their children. Workers stopped what they were doing. At the command center, Nari stood at her station, her hands shaking as she worked the controls. She was only 22 years old and had never experienced real danger before. The screen showed the Vorthian fleet, massive ships covered in weapons. A message came through on all channels. The voice was deep and harsh, speaking the common galactic language. "Humans of New Jeju, this is General Vrax of the Vorthian Empire. You have exactly 10 minutes to surrender your colony to Vorthian control. If you refuse, we will take it by force. Any resistance will be met with complete destruction." Hyunwoo's jaw tightened. He looked at his small team. 200 soldiers with outdated weapons and 3 patrol ships that were designed for rescue missions, not combat, against 50 Vorthian warships. "Nari, send a message to Earth," he ordered. "Tell them we are under attack." Tell them what?" Nari asked, her voice breaking. Hyunwoo thought for a moment, then his eyes hardened. "Tell them the Vorthians do not know what they have done." Nari sent the message just as the first explosions hit. The Vorthians were not waiting for an answer. They fired on the defense installations, destroying them in seconds. The ground shook. Buildings crumbled. Fire filled the sky. "All citizens to underground shelters," Sumin shouted into the emergency broadcast system. "This is not a drill. Get underground now." People ran. Parents carried children. The elderly helped each other. The colonists had practiced this scenario but never believed it would really happen. The shelters were deep underground, built into the planet's rock. They could survive anything short of a direct nuclear strike. Hyunwoo gathered his soldiers. "We cannot win this fight," he told them honestly, "but we can make them pay for every meter they take. We can buy time for the civilians to reach safety. We can show them that humans do not surrender." His soldiers nodded. Many were young, like Nari. Many had never fired a weapon in combat. But they were all volunteers who had sworn to protect the colony. The Vorthian ground forces landed in dropships. Thousands of soldiers, each one standing 8 feet tall with scales like armor and weapons that could blast through concrete. They expected the humans to run or hide. Instead, they found traps. The first Vorthian unit entered what looked like an abandoned warehouse district. The buildings exploded around them. The humans had rigged every structure with explosives made from mining equipment. 50 Vorthians died in the first 5 minutes. General Vrax watched from his command ship with surprise. What are they doing? Why are they fighting? They cannot win. His second-in-command, a scarred veteran named Krell, studied the reports. They are using guerrilla tactics. Ambushes, traps, hit-and-run attacks. They are not trying to hold ground. They are trying to inflict maximum casualties. Then we will teach them the cost of resistance, Vrax growled. Order orbital bombardment of Sector 7. Destroy everything. The Vorthian ships fired their massive weapons. A settlement housing 50,000 people disappeared in fire. The shockwave could be felt across half the planet. In the underground shelter, Sumin heard the impact and knew what it meant. 50,000 people. Families she knew. Children she had watched grow up. Gone in seconds. She looked at the frightened faces around her. People were crying, holding each other, praying in different languages and religions. This was supposed to be their safe place, their new start. They killed them, someone whispered. They just killed them all. Above ground, Captain Hyunwoo received the news. His face showed no emotion, but his hands gripped his weapon until his knuckles turned white. He was in a ruined building with 20 of his soldiers watching Vorthian troops advance down the street. "Captain, we cannot fight them," one soldier said. "We should retreat to the shelters." "No," Hyunwoo said quietly. "We fight. We make them remember New Jeju. We make them remember what happens when they kill our people." He had fought in Earth's last war, a brutal conflict that almost destroyed humanity. He knew what war truly meant. He also knew something the Vorthians did not understand. Humans were not brave because they were strong. They were brave because they refused to give up even when defeat was certain. The Vorthian troops entered the street. Hyunwoo's team opened fire from hidden positions. The aliens were caught by surprise. Their armor protected them, but the humans aimed for weak points. Joints, eyes, weapon ports. One Vorthian fell, then another. The rest took cover and returned fire. their weapons tearing through the buildings. But the humans had already moved to new positions. For 3 days the battle continued. The Vorthians took the planet, but it cost them. Every street was a fight. Every building was a trap. The humans used farming equipment as weapons. They used knowledge of the terrain they had built themselves. They fought with the desperation of people defending their homes. General Vrax grew increasingly frustrated. These are civilians, farmers and scientists. How are they killing trained warriors? Krell had studied human history and had a grim answer. Because they are from Earth, General. A planet so dangerous that their ancestors had to be perfect hunters just to survive. They are apex predators pretending to be peaceful. We just reminded them what they really are. On the 4th day, the last human defenders were cornered in the ruins of the capital city. Captain Hyunwoo had only 30 soldiers left. They were out of ammunition and using captured Vorthian weapons. General Vrax appeared on a screen, his face filled with rage. Surrender now, human. You have fought well, but it is over. Your planet is ours. Your people are defeated. Hyunwoo, covered in dust and blood, smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret. You are right. You have won. But you have made a terrible mistake. What mistake? Vrax demanded. You killed our families, Hyunwoo said. You destroyed our homes. You murdered our children. And now Earth knows. The human fleet is coming. And General, you have no idea what you have awakened. In space, far beyond the Vorthian sensors, human ships began to arrive. Not just military vessels, but civilian ships that had been converted for war. Mining ships with drilling lasers, colony transports armed with missiles, trade vessels carrying soldiers. Humanity was gathering its strength. Admiral Taejin sat in his command chair, watching the fleet assemble. He was an old man who had hoped to never see war again. Behind him stood his officers, all volunteers who had left their families to answer the call. How many ships? He asked quietly. 300 and counting, sir, replied his tactical officer. More arriving every hour. Earth has mobilized everything, Taejin nodded. He read Nari's message again. The Vorthians do not know what they have done. Such simple words. Such terrible truth. He opened a channel to every human ship in the fleet. His voice was calm but carried the weight of absolute authority. This is Admiral Taejin Han of Earth Defense Command. The colony of New Jeju has been attacked by the Vorthian Empire. 50,000 civilians have been confirmed killed. Unknown numbers are still under attack. This is not a military action. This is murder. He paused and every human in the fleet listened. We are going to New Jeju. We are going to save our people. And we are going to show the Vorthians why the Galactic Council tried to warn them. Authorization code, remember Jeju. No survivors among the enemy fleet. The fleet jumped into hyperspace. Every ship carried the same message painted on its hull in huge letters. Written in the Vorthian language, you attacked our children. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the new Jeju system. 300 ships all broadcasting the same message on every frequency. The message was simple but terrifying in its certainty. Surrender or die. General Vrax stood on the bridge of his flagship, staring at the sensor readings with disbelief. 300 ships? In 4 days? How is that possible? His tactical officer's voice shook as he answered. Sir, many of them are not military vessels. They are civilian ships that have been armed. Mining vessels, colony transports, even cargo haulers. But they all have weapons now. Then they are easy targets, Vrax said, but he did not sound confident. Something about this felt wrong. The humans should be afraid. They should be trying to negotiate. Instead, they came ready for total war. Admiral Taejin gave his orders to the fleet. Commander Jiwon, take your special operations teams and infiltrate their command vessels. Wujin, begin electronic warfare. Disable their communications and navigation. All other ships hold position and wait for my signal. On the surface of New Jeju, the surviving colonists heard the news. The human fleet had arrived. In the underground shelters, people cried with relief. Dr. Suman held a young girl who had lost her parents in the bombardment. Help is here, Suman whispered. They came for us. But Captain Hyunwoo, still fighting in the ruins with his last few soldiers, knew the truth. Help had not come. Vengeance had Commander Jiwon led a team of 50 special operations soldiers. They used stealth technology that the galaxy did not know humans possessed. Their ships were invisible to Vorthian sensors. They moved through space like ghosts. They attached themselves to the hulls of Vorthian command ships and cut their way inside. The Vorthians never knew they were there until it was too late. Jiwan's teams moved through the corridors like shadows, placing devices on critical systems before vanishing. Wu Jin worked from the human flagship, his fingers dancing across holographic controls. He was a specialist in electronic warfare, and he was very good at his job. He did not just hack the Vorthian systems, he destroyed them. One by one, Vorthian ships lost communication with each other. Their navigation systems showed false data. Their weapons targeting failed. Their sensors went blind. In minutes, the organized fleet became isolated vessels, each one alone and confused. General Vrax tried to contact his other ships but heard only static. What is happening? Someone report. No one could. The humans had cut them off from each other completely. Admiral Tajin's voice came through on every Vorthian ship, speaking their language perfectly. General Vrax, this is Admiral Tajin Han. You have 10 minutes to surrender unconditionally. For every minute after that deadline, we will destroy one of your ships. We will not negotiate. We will not show mercy. You attacked our children. Vrax slammed his fist on his console. I am a Vorthian general. We do not surrender to inferior species. All ships attack formation. Destroy the human fleet. But his ships could not hear the order. They were blind, deaf, and isolated. Exactly 10 minutes later, a human missile struck a Vorthian destroyer. The ship exploded, killing all 600 soldiers on board. 1 minute later, another ship died. Then another. The Vorthian soldiers on the ground watched their ships burning in the sky. They had thought they were the conquerors. Now they realized they were trapped on a hostile world with an enemy that would never stop hunting them. Captain Hunwoo emerged from the ruins with his surviving soldiers. They looked like ghosts covered in dust and blood, but their eyes burned with purpose. Behind them, thousands of colonists came out of the underground shelters. They were not warriors. They were farmers, teachers, engineers, parents, but every one of them had lost someone they loved. Every one of them had a score to settle. Dr. Suman found Hyunwoo and handed him a list. This is everyone we lost. 53,000 names. I want the Vorthians to know every single one. The Vorthians on the ground tried to regroup, but they faced an enemy that knew every street, every building, every hiding place. The colonists used their knowledge of the terrain against the invaders. They cut off supply lines. They poisoned water sources. They attacked at night when the Vorthians could not see well. One Vorthian commander sent a desperate message that was intercepted by the humans. They do not stop. We killed their people, destroyed their homes, and they just keep coming. They hunt us like animals. They can see in the dark. They do not need sleep. What kind of species are these? The answer was simple. Humans. A species that evolved on a planet where almost everything tried to kill them. A species that learned to hunt the most dangerous predators on their world and win. A species that could run for days without stopping, track prey across vast distances, and work together with terrifying efficiency. In space, Admiral Tajin watched his tactical display. 30 Vorthian ships were destroyed. 20 more were crippled and drifting. The rest were trying to flee. Let them run, Tajin ordered. Commander Jiwan, transmit the tracking signatures to all ships. We follow them back to their bases. The human fleet pursued the fleeing Vorthians like wolves chasing wounded prey. The Vorthian ships jumped to hyperspace thinking they had escaped. They were wrong. The devices Jiwan's teams had placed allowed the humans to track them anywhere. The Vorthians fled to a military outpost, a massive station with powerful defenses. They thought they would be safe there. The human fleet arrived hours later. The outpost commander sent a message. Human fleet, this station is protected by the Vorthian Empire. If you attack, you will start a war that will consume the entire galaxy. Admiral Tajin's response was cold. You started the war when you killed our children. Now you will finish it or you will die trying. The battle lasted 20 minutes. The human ships used weapons that seemed impossible. Missiles that could think and adapt. Lasers that bent around shields. Kinetic weapons that struck with the force of asteroids. The Vorthian outpost, which had stood for 1,000 years, was reduced to debris. News of the battles spread across the galaxy faster than light. Every species watched in horror as humanity showed what it could do when pushed too far. The peaceful humans, who always smiled and asked for friendship, were gone. In their place was something ancient and terrible. Back on New Jeju, the last Vorthian troops surrendered to Captain Hyunwoo. They were exhausted, starving, and terrified. Hyunwoo looked at them with no pity. "You thought we were weak because we chose peace," he said. "You thought our kindness was weakness. You were wrong." He ordered the Vorthian prisoners to help rebuild what they had destroyed. Every day they worked under the hot sun, clearing rubble and burying the dead. The colonists made them read the names of everyone who had died. All 53,000 names. Dr. Suman watched the Vorthians work and felt no satisfaction. "This does not bring them back," she said to Hyunwoo. "No," he agreed. "But it makes sure this never happens again." In the Vorthian Empire, Overlord Krethix watched his military collapse. 3 outposts destroyed. His invasion fleet annihilated. Thousands of his best soldiers dead or captured. And the human fleet was still coming. His advisors begged him to surrender, to ask for peace. But Krethix refused. To surrender would mean admitting he was wrong. It would mean losing everything he had built. "Mobilize the entire fleet," he ordered. "Every ship we have. We will crush these humans once and for all." His military command protested. "Overlord, that is 1,500 warships. If we lose them, the Empire will be defenseless. We will not lose!" Krethix roared. "The Vorthians are the greatest warriors in the galaxy. We will show these humans what real war looks like." But others in his empire were not so sure. Empress Xylera, a rival political leader, watched the news with growing concern. She had opposed the attack on New Jeju from the beginning. She had studied human history and knew what they were capable of. She began quietly contacting other Vorthian leaders. "Krethix's pride will destroy us all," she told them. "We must stop this war before it is too late." Meanwhile, the human fleet reached the border of Vorthian space. Admiral Tajin received reports that the entire Vorthian armada was gathering to meet them. 1,500 ships against 300. His officers looked worried. "Sir, we are outnumbered 5-1. Should we wait for reinforcements?" Tajin studied the tactical display. He thought about the 53,000 dead colonists on New Jeju. He thought about the children who would never grow up, the parents who would never see their families again. "No," he said quietly. "We do not wait. We do not show mercy. We end this now." He opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "All ships prepare for combat. Remember New Jeju. Remember why we are here. Today we show the galaxy why you do not attack humanity." The human ships moved forward, crossing into Vorthian space. Behind them, the rest of humanity watched and waited. Earth's orbital defenses powered up. Colony worlds prepared for possible attacks. Every human ship in the galaxy moved toward battle stations. Humanity had tried peace. They had extended friendship to the galaxy. They had followed every rule and respected every treaty. But the Vorthians had pushed them too far. Now the galaxy would learn what humans really were. Not the friendly explorers who shared their food and music. Not the curious scientists who wanted to learn about alien cultures. But the apex predators who had conquered the most dangerous planet in the galaxy. The predators who, when their families were threatened, would burn entire empires to ash to protect them. General Vrax, watching the human fleet approach from his rebuilt command center, finally felt fear. Real fear. Because he understood now what Ambassador Mirai had tried to tell the Council. Humans did not want war. But they were very, very good at it. The two fleets faced each other across the void of space. On one side, 1,500 Vorthian warships, the pride of an empire that had conquered 300 worlds. On the other side, 300 human ships, many of them converted civilian vessels held together with determination and anger. Overlord Krethix stood on the bridge of his super dreadnought, a ship so massive it could destroy planets. Around him, his generals and admirals waited for orders. He broadcast his message across all channels, wanting the galaxy to hear. "Humans of Earth, you have made a grave mistake. You have entered Vorthian space. You have destroyed our outposts. You have killed our soldiers. Now you will face the full might of our empire. This is your last chance to surrender and beg for mercy." Admiral Tajin listened to the message without expression. Then he turned to his communications officer. "Send a response. 2 words only." The officer nodded and transmitted the message. 2 words that echoed across space. "Never again." Krethix's face twisted with rage. "All ships attack! Show them the price of defying the Vorthian Empire." The Vorthian fleet surged forward, their weapons charging, their shields at maximum. Victory seemed certain. They had the numbers, the firepower, the experience. What could 300 human ships do against this armada? But the human fleet did not charge forward. They waited, motionless, as the Vorthians approached. This confused the alien commanders. Why were the humans not moving? Why were they not afraid? Then something strange happened. The human ships vanished, not destroyed, not retreated. They simply disappeared from Vorthian sensors. What sorcery is this? A Vorthian admiral shouted. Where did they go? The answer came seconds later when human ships reappeared inside the Vorthian formation, having somehow moved through space in ways that should be impossible. They fired at point-blank range into the tightly packed enemy fleet. Vorthian ships exploded. Their shields, designed to stop attacks from outside, were useless against weapons fired from within their own formation. Chaos erupted as the Vorthians tried to target the human ships without hitting their own vessels. Wu Jin, still orchestrating electronic warfare from his station, smiled grimly. They designed their tactics for traditional warfare. We do not fight traditionally. The human ships moved like dancers, impossible to track, impossible to predict. They used gravity wells to slingshot around Vorthian vessels. They fired weapons that curved through space. They coordinated their attacks with perfect precision, as if all 300 ships shared one mind. The truth was simpler. Humans had spent thousands of years learning to hunt in packs. Every tactic they used in space came from lessons learned on Earth, chasing prey across ancient plains, outsmarting predators in dark forests. They had simply adapted those lessons to starships. The battle lasted 17 minutes. In that time, the Vorthian fleet lost over 1,300 ships. The survivors scattered, their formation broken, their morale shattered. The greatest armada in the galaxy fled from a force 1/5 its size. Krethix watched in horror as his empire's strength evaporated before his eyes. This is not possible. This cannot be happening. We are Vorthians. We are warriors. No, said a voice behind him. It was Empress Xylara, who had come to his flagship with her own guards. You are fools. I tried to warn you. The Council tried to warn you. Even the humans tried to warn you. But your pride would not listen. Krethix turned to face her, his hand moving toward his weapon. But Xylara's guards were faster. She looked at him with contempt. You are under arrest for crimes against the Empire. You started a war we cannot win. You ignored the Apex Predator Protocol. You brought destruction to our people because you could not accept that someone might be stronger than you. While Krethix was being arrested, something else was happening across Vorthian space. A human diplomat named Heiyun had been busy. She was known as the Velvet Hammer because she smiled while destroying your arguments. Heiyun did not threaten the Vorthian people. She did not demand their surrender. Instead, she simply provided information. She sent messages to every Vorthian citizen, to every family, to every world in their empire. The messages contained footage from New Jeju, not military footage. Personal videos from colonists, birthday parties, school plays, families eating dinner together, children laughing and playing. Then the messages showed what the Vorthian fleet had done to those families. Your leaders ordered this, Heiyun's message said. They killed these people to prove humans were weak. They murdered children to make a point, and they did it against the advice of the Galactic Council, against interstellar law, against basic morality. Is this what you want your empire to be known for? The messages also included something else. Historical footage from Earth, images of human wars, human weapons, human capacity for destruction, but also images of human compassion, human art, human love for peace. We did not want this war, Heiyun said in the message. We came to the stars to escape our violent past. We wanted to be better. We wanted peace. Your leaders took that from us. They forced us to become what we tried to leave behind. Minho, a specialist in psychological warfare, added another layer. He did not attack Vorthian military systems. He targeted their civilian networks, their entertainment channels, their social communication platforms. Every Vorthian citizen received the same data. Casualty reports from the battles, the truth about how badly they were losing, the revelation that Krethix had ignored warnings from his own advisors, the evidence that this war was based on nothing but pride. Within days, Vorthian society began to tear itself apart. Citizens protested in the streets. Military officers questioned their orders. Entire worlds demanded peace. Empress Xylara used this chaos to take control. She sent a message to Admiral Tajin. We surrender unconditionally, please, no more killing. We will accept any terms you offer. Tajin read the message and felt no satisfaction. War was not glorious. Victory was not sweet. It was just the end of pain, bought with blood and suffering. He set his terms, and they were harsh. The Vorthian Empire would be dissolved. Their conquered territories would be freed. They would pay reparations to New Jeju. Their military would be reduced to defensive forces only. And Krethix would stand trial before the Galactic Council. Most importantly, every Vorthian citizen would be required to study what had happened. They would learn about New Jeju, about the families who died, about the cost of pride and aggression. When Empress Ilara agreed to these terms, the war ended. The human fleet stood down, but they did not leave. They would remain in Vorthian space for years, ensuring compliance. Admiral Tejan met with Krethix one final time. The once proud overlord was now in chains, broken and defeated. He looked at the human admiral with something close to fear. "What are you?" Krethix asked, his voice barely a whisper. "How did you do this? We had superior numbers, superior weapons, superior experience. How did you win?" Tejan looked at him for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was quiet but filled with terrible truth. "You want to know what we are? We are the species that survived the Ice Age with nothing but pointed sticks and determination. We are the species that looked at fire and decided to control it instead of fear it. We are the species that turned the most dangerous planet in the galaxy into our home." He leaned closer. "We are also the species that invented the concept of total war. We know how to fight for survival because we have done it for millions of years. Every other species in this galaxy evolved on worlds that were kind to them. We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every single day." Krethix closed his eyes. "The Council tried to warn me. Your ambassadors tried to warn me. I thought you were bluffing. I thought the Apex Predator Protocol was just politics. It was a gift," Tejan said. "It was humanity telling the galaxy, do not make us remember what we are. Let us be peaceful. Let us be friends. Let us explore and learn and grow. Because if you force us to remember, if you make us go back to what we were, we will do what we have always done. We will survive, and we will make sure the threat never comes back." He straightened up. "You attacked our children, Krethix. You killed our families. You thought we would cry and beg. Instead, you reminded us why our ancestors conquered Earth. Not because we were the strongest or the fastest, but because we never ever give up, and we never ever forget." As Krethix was taken away to face trial, Admiral Tejan stood alone on his bridge. He thought about New Jeju, about the 53,000 dead. He thought about the thousands of Vorthians who had died in the war, all of it unnecessary, all of it preventable. He opened a secure channel to Earth. "This is Admiral Tejan Han. The Vorthian Empire has surrendered. The war is over. We won." There was a pause. Then the Earth commander responded. "What did it cost us?" Tejan looked at his casualty reports. 47 ships destroyed. 8,000 soldiers killed in action. New Jeju suffered 53,000 civilian casualties. Total human losses, 61,000 people. And the Vorthians? Military casualties exceed 200,000. Their empire is finished. They will not threaten anyone again. Another pause. "Was it worth it, Admiral?" Tejan thought about that question. War was never worth it. But sometimes it was necessary. Sometimes you had to fight or lose everything. "It was necessary," he finally said. "They attacked our families. If we had not responded with overwhelming force, every other aggressive species would think humans were easy targets. We had to show the galaxy what happens when you ignore the warnings. We had to make sure this never happens again." "Understood. Come home, Admiral. You and your people have earned rest." But Tejan knew there would be no rest. Not for a long time. Because humanity had shown the galaxy what it could do, and that changed everything. Some species would fear them now. Others would respect them. Some might even seek revenge. The peaceful days were over. Humanity had tried to leave its violent past behind. But the galaxy had forced them to remember. Now they would have to live with the consequences. As his ship prepared to jump back to human space, Tejan looked at the stars and wondered what the future held. Would humanity be able to find peace again, or had they opened a door that could never be closed? Only time would tell. 5 years had passed since the war ended. The Galactic Council chambers were fuller than usual, with representatives from every major species gathered to witness history. Today the trial of Overlord Krethix would conclude. Ambassador Daewon stood before the council once more. He looked older now, with gray in his hair that had not been there before. War aged everyone, even those who only fought with words. Krethix sat in the defendants area, no longer the proud warrior but a broken figure in simple clothes. He had spent 5 years learning human history, human culture, and human philosophy. He had been forced to understand what he had attacked. High Chancellor Valuna spoke to the assembly. Krethix of the former Vorthian Empire stands accused of violating the Apex Predator Protocol, ordering attacks on civilian populations, and starting an unauthorized war. Ambassador Daewon, as the prosecutor, what sentence do you seek? The chamber fell silent. Everyone expected Daewon to demand execution. That was what most species would ask for. But humans, as the galaxy had learned, rarely did what was expected. We do not seek his death, Daewon said clearly. Death would be too easy. It would teach nothing. Instead, we ask that Krethix spend the next 20 cycles traveling the galaxy as an educator. He will teach other species about what happened. He will explain how pride and ignorance led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands. He will be a living reminder of why the Council's warnings must be heeded. Murmurs spread through the chamber. It was a strange punishment, but effective. Krethix would live, but he would spend the rest of his life explaining his mistakes. Krethix stood and addressed the Council. His voice was quiet, humble. I accept this sentence. I deserve far worse. The humans showed mercy to my people when they could have destroyed us completely. The least I can do is ensure no other species makes my mistake. He turned to Daewon. I was wrong about humanity. I thought kindness was weakness. I thought your desire for peace meant you could not fight. But I learned that you are kind because you choose to be, not because you must be, and that choice makes you stronger than any warrior. The trial concluded with the official dissolution of the Vorthian Empire. Its 300 star systems were given independence or returned to species that had been conquered generations ago. It was the end of an era. After the trial, Daewon traveled to New Jeju. The colony had been rebuilt, but it was different now. The new buildings were beautiful, but everyone could see the memorial at the center of the main settlement. The memorial was a simple black wall with 53,000 names carved into it. No statues of warriors, no celebration of victory, just names. People who had lived, who had loved, who had died for no reason, except someone else's pride. Dr. Suman met Daewon at the memorial. She came here every day to remember the people she had lost. Thank you for coming, she said softly. I should have prevented this, Daewon replied, guilt clear in his voice. If I had argued better at the council, if I had made them understand. No, Suman interrupted gently. You did everything you could. Some people refuse to learn until they are forced to. Krethix was one of them. They stood in silence, reading the names. Then Suman said, Something good did come from this tragedy. Ambassador Yuna has been working on new laws. The whole galaxy is changing because of what happened here. She was right. Ambassador Yuna, who had taken over much of the diplomatic work, had spent 5 years creating something new. She called it the Jeju Accords, and it was revolutionary. The Accords established new rules for interstellar relations. All conflicts had to go through arbitration before any military action. Civilian populations were absolutely protected under all circumstances. Any species that attacked another without following proper channels would face immediate sanctions from every council member. But the most important part was the Mutual Defense Clause. If any species attacked a council member, all other members were required to respond. It meant that attacking one peaceful species meant fighting everyone. Yuna presented the Accords at a special council session. She spoke with passion and clarity. For too long, powerful species have bullied weaker ones. They have taken what they wanted and justified it with strength. The Vorthian War proved that this cannot continue. We must have laws that protect everyone, not just the strong. One by one, species signed the Accords. Even former enemies agreed that something needed to change. The galaxy had seen what happened when humans were pushed too far. No one wanted to be the next example. Captain Hyunwoo returned to New Jeju as well. He no longer commanded soldiers. Instead, he taught at the new Colonial Defense Academy. Young people from across human space came to learn from him. His lessons were simple but powerful. Hope for peace, he told his students. Work for peace. Choose peace whenever possible, but always be ready for war, because there will always be someone who mistakes kindness for weakness. He taught them the tactics that had saved lives on New Jeju, how to use terrain as a weapon, how to turn everyday items into defenses, how to think like a predator when necessary. But most importantly, he taught them to value life and never start a fight. "We are not warriors by choice," he would say. "We are warriors by necessity. Never forget that difference." Meanwhile, the galaxy's view of humanity had changed dramatically. Some species feared humans now, seeing them as dangerous predators. Others respected them, understanding that humanity's strength came from desperation, not cruelty. But most species simply treated humans differently. They listened when human ambassadors spoke. They honored human treaties. They did not test human boundaries. The Apex Predator Protocol was no longer just a label. It was a reality that everyone understood. Wu Jin, the electronic warfare specialist, retired from military service and became a teacher as well. He taught alien species about human technology and thinking. Many were surprised to learn that human advantages came not from superior science, but from creative application. "We do not have the best weapons," he explained to a class of mixed species students. "We have desperate weapons. Every human innovation came from trying to solve a problem that threatened our survival. We learned to think in ways that species from safer worlds do not." He showed them Earth's history, how humans had invented agriculture because they were starving, how they had invented medicine because diseases killed them, how they had invented spacecraft because their world was too small for their ambitions. "You call us creative," Wu Jin said, "but creativity is just another word for refusing to accept that something is impossible. Humans have never accepted impossible." 5 years after the war, a new species applied to join the Galactic Council. They called themselves the Korath, and they were powerful. They had conquered 20 systems and had a massive fleet. They approached the Council with arrogance, demanding membership as if it were their right. High Chancellor Valuna, who had guided the Council for centuries, listened to their demands patiently. Then she asked a simple question. "Are you familiar with the Apex Predator Protocol?" The Korath ambassador laughed. "We have heard of it. A list of dangerous species. We fear none of them. We are warriors, born and bred." Valuna's antennae twitched with what might have been amusement. "Then let me show you something." She played a recording. It was the final message from New Jeju, recorded by Nari as the bombardment began. Her young voice, trying to stay calm despite the terror, echoed through the chamber. "Under attack, Forthian Empire. They do not know what they have done." Then the recording showed what had happened next. Not the battles, but the aftermath. The destroyed Vorthian fleet, the dissolved empire, the 200,000 dead, all because they had ignored the warnings. The Korath ambassador's confidence faded as he watched. When the recording ended, Valuna spoke again. The Vorthians were the strongest military power in the galaxy. They had 1,500 warships. They had thousands of years of conquest experience. They thought humans were weak because humans chose peace. She paused, letting the words sink in. The war lasted weeks. The Vorthian Empire lasted another year before collapsing completely. "Now tell me, Ambassador, do you still think you can ignore the Council's protocols?" The Korath delegation went into emergency discussions. An hour later, they returned with a very different attitude. They apologized for their arrogance. They requested to learn more about Council laws before applying for membership. They especially wanted to understand more about humanity and the Apex Predator Protocol. Ambassador Yuna met with them privately. She was kind but firm. "The protocol exists not to threaten you, but to protect everyone, including you. Humanity does not want to fight. We proved at New Jeju that we would rather die than start a war. But we also proved that we will finish any war that is brought to us." She showed them more footage from Earth. The Ice Age, where humans survived in conditions that would kill most species. The Ancient Wars, where humans fought with stones and sticks but never gave up. The Space Age, where humans went from first flight to moon landing in just 66 years. "We are fast learners," Yuna explained. "We adapt quickly. We never stop trying. These are not threats. They are facts. And they are the reason the Council gave us the Apex designation. Not because we wanted it, but because ignoring it would get people killed." The Korath ambassador understood. "You are saying that humans are dangerous not because you want to be, but because you cannot help it. It is your nature." "No," Yuna corrected gently. "We can help it. We choose peace every day. But that choice is not weakness. It is strength. The strongest choice is to hold power and not use it. Remember that." Back on New Jeju, the anniversary of the attack was marked with a day of remembrance. People gathered at the memorial and read names. They told stories about the people who had died. They cried and remembered and promised to honor those who were lost. Dr. Suman placed flowers at the memorial, as she did every year. Beside her stood her adopted daughter, the girl who had lost her parents in the bombardment. The girl was older now, studying to be a teacher. "Do you still have nightmares?" Suman asked gently. "Sometimes," the girl admitted, "but less often now. And when I wake up, I remember that we survived. We rebuilt. We made sure it meant something." That was humanity's gift to the galaxy, Suman realized. Not weapons or tactics or the ability to win wars, but the refusal to let tragedy be meaningless. The determination to build something better from the ashes. Admiral Tajan, now retired, visited the memorial as well. He came alone, as he always did. He placed flowers and whispered the same words every year. "We remembered. We made sure it never happened again. Rest easy." As the sun set on New Jeju, casting long shadows across the memorial, a strange peace settled over the colony. The scars of war remained, but life continued. Children played. Crops grew. People loved and laughed and dreamed of the future. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had shown them what happened when you ignored the warnings. But more importantly, humanity had shown them what happened after the war. Mercy instead of revenge. Justice instead of vengeance. Building instead of destroying. In the council chambers, High Chancellor Valuna prepared to retire. She had served for 3,000 years and felt it was time to rest. Before she left, she recorded a message for her successor. "The humans taught us something important. They taught us that the most dangerous species is not the one that wants to fight. It is the one that chooses not to fight but can if necessary. Respect that choice. Honor that restraint. Because if you push them too far, if you force them to remember what they are, you will learn why their world tried to kill them and failed." She paused, remembering the war, the deaths, the aftermath. The Vorthians learned this lesson. Make sure no one else has to. As stars shone over thousands of worlds, peace reigned across the galaxy. Not because everyone was weak, but because everyone remembered. They remembered New Jeju. They remembered the Vorthian Empire. They remembered that humanity had tried to warn them. And they remembered that when you ignore the warning about apex predators, you learn why they earned that title. In the quiet of his home, Krathix prepared for another journey. Tomorrow he would travel to a new world and tell his story again. It never got easier. The shame never faded. But it was his purpose now, his way of making amends. He looked at a photo of New Jeju before the attack. Happy families, peaceful streets, children playing. Then he looked at a photo of the memorial wall. "Never again," he whispered to himself, echoing the words carved at the base of that wall. Never again. And across the galaxy, people of every species said the same thing. Because they had learned what humans tried to tell them from the beginning. Peace is a choice. But so is war. And humans, despite everything they had endured, would always choose peace first. That was what made them truly dangerous. Not their weapons or their tactics or their refusal to surrender, but their hope. Their stubborn, impossible, beautiful hope that someday everyone would choose peace together.